Hello, everyone, and welcome back to PodQuiver. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Alex. Today, we are discussing a book that changed the world of marketing and leadership forever. Start with Why by Simon Sinek.
Oh, I've seen his TED Talk. It's one of the most watched videos of all time. He talks about why some companies are inspiring and others are just boring.
Exactly. Why is Apple so innovative? Why did Martin Luther King lead the civil rights movement? Sinek says it's not because they had more money or better technology, it's because they communicated differently.
Differently how? Don't all companies just want to sell stuff?
They do. But most companies use manipulation. They drop the price. They use fear. They use peer pressure. Sinek calls these carrots and sticks.
Carrots and sticks, like training a donkey?
Yes, it works for a short time, but it doesn't create loyalty. True leaders don't manipulate, they use inspiration. And to inspire, you need the golden circle.
I can see the diagram on the screen now. It looks like a target. 3 rings.
Correct. The outer ring is what? Every single company on Earth knows what they do. We sell cars. We make toothpaste.
That's the easy part.
The middle ring is how. Some companies know how they do it. This is their unique selling proposition. Like, we use the best leather, or our cars are fuel efficient.
But very, very few people know why they do what they do. And why is not to make money. Money is a result. Why is your purpose, your cause, your belief?
Purpose, cause, belief. That sounds deep. Can you give me a real example?
Let's look at Apple. If Apple were a normal company, their marketing message would start with what? It would sound like this.
We make great computers. They are beautifully designed and simple to use. Want to buy one?
Meh, that sounds okay, but I'm not excited.
Exactly. That is outside-in communication. Whatever. Now let's see how Apple actually communicates. They start with why. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently.
Okay, I'm listening.
The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one?
Whoa, that feels completely different. I actually want to buy one now. Why does that happen?
Because they sold you a belief first. They didn't sell a computer, they sold thinking differently. The computer was just the tangible proof of that belief.
That's the famous quote, right? People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yes. And this explains why people line up for 6 hours to buy a new iPhone. It's not about the phone specs. It's about identity.
It's true. Buying an Apple product makes you feel creative. It makes you feel like you are part of a club.
Exactly. But if Dell or HP tried to sell an MP3 player or a phone, nobody bought it. Because their why was fuzzy. They were just computer companies. Apple is a challenging the status quo company.
Status quo. That's a great phrase. It means the way things are right now, right?
Yes. To maintain the status quo is to keep things the same. To challenge it is to rebel. Apple is a rebel.
So, the lesson for part 1 is, most people communicate outside in. What? Why? But leaders communicate inside out. Why? What?
Perfect summary. And this isn't just marketing psychology, it's actually biology.
Biology? You mean like brain structure?
Yes. The golden circle matches the structure of the human brain perfectly. And that is why why feels so powerful. We'll dive into the biology of decision-making in part 2.
I can't wait. Before we go, let's review the key vocabulary. First, manipulation.
Manipulation is controlling someone to your advantage, often unfairly, like dropping prices to force a sale.
Second, status quo. The existing state of affairs, especially regarding social or political issues, keeping things normal.
And third, tangible. Perceptible by touch. Something real and physical. An iPhone is a tangible product of Apple's belief.
All right, guys. Think about your own why. Why do you do what you do? See you in the next part.
Welcome back. In part 1, we learned that inspiring leaders start with why. Now, let's look at the biology behind it.
You promised to explain why I buy things based on feelings. Is my brain playing tricks on me?
Not tricks, it's evolution. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain from the top down, it corresponds perfectly with the golden circle. The outer layer of the brain is the neocortex. This corresponds to the what level?
The neocortex. That sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. What does it do?
It's our newest brain. It's responsible for rational and analytical thought and language. It processes facts and figures. It understands this computer has 16 gigabytes of RAM. But the middle two sections make up the limbic brain. This corresponds to the how and why.
And what does the limbic brain do?
This is the ancient brain. It is responsible for all of our feelings: trust, loyalty, love. It is also responsible for all human behavior and decision-making. But here is the catch. The limbic brain has no capacity for language.
Wait, the part that controls my feelings can't speak?
Exactly. That is why when you ask someone, "Why do you love your husband?" they struggle. They say vague things like, "I don't know, he's funny," or "It just feels right."
Oh my God, it feels right. I say that all the time when I make decisions.
That is your limbic brain communicating. It's a gut feeling. It's a biological decision that your neocortex, language brain, cannot explain.
So when companies sell us features and specs, what? They are talking to the neocortex.
Yes, the neocortex understands the features, but it doesn't drive behavior. That's why you can show someone all the facts. This car is cheaper, faster, better, and they still say, "I know, but I don't trust it."
Because trust isn't logical. Trust is limbic. So we make decisions emotionally and then use logic to explain them later?
Bingo! We rationalize. We buy the expensive Mac not because of the RAM, but because we feel creative. Then we tell our friends, "Oh, I bought it because the battery life is good." We lie to ourselves.
This explains so much. This is why winning hearts and minds is a saying. The heart, limbic, comes first.
Correct. If you hire people just for money, what? They will leave for more money. If you hire people who believe what you believe, why? They will work with blood, sweat, and tears.
Because they are working for their own cause, not just your paycheck.
That leads us to the concept of loyalty. You can't buy loyalty. You have to earn it by communicating to the limbic brain.
This is fascinating science. Before we see this in action with a real historical story, let's review the terms. First, neocortex.
The neocortex is the part of the brain concerned with sight and hearing, and famously, language and logic. The smart brain.
Second, limbic system. The part of the brain involved in our behavioral and emotional responses. The feeling brain.
Third, rationalize. To attempt to explain or justify behavior with logical reasons, even if they are not the real reasons.
And fourth, gut feeling. An intuition or instinct, as opposed to an opinion based on facts.
So we know the biology, now let's look at history. Who invented the airplane?
The Wright Brothers, obviously.
But did you know they had a competitor who was richer, smarter, and famous? His name was Samuel Pierpont Langley. Why did he fail? We'll find out in part 3. Welcome back to part 3. Before the break, I mentioned Samuel Pierpont Langley. In the early 1900s, he was supposed to be the first man to fly. Langley had what we call the recipe for success. He was given $50,000 by the War Department, a huge amount back then. He held a seat at Harvard. He knew all the smartest people like Alexander Graham Bell. Wow. Hello, listener.
So he had the money, the education, and the network. And the media followed him everywhere, right?
Yes, the New York Times followed his every move. Everyone expected him to win. But a few hundred miles away, in Dayton, Ohio, Orville and Wilbur Wright had none of that.
They were bicycle mechanics, right?
Yes, they had no government money. They funded their dream with the proceeds from their bicycle shop. Not a single person on their team had a college education.
So, on paper, Langley should have crushed them. It's David versus Goliath.
Exactly. But the difference was the why. Langley wanted to be famous. He wanted the glory. He was motivated by the result. The Wright brothers were driven by a cause. They believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, it would change the world forever. Their team worked with blood, sweat, and tears. And on December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers took flight. No media was there, just a few locals.
That is incredible. But here is my question. What did Langley do when he heard the news? Did he say, "Great job, guys. Let me help you improve it"?
No, he quit. He resigned immediately. He could have said, "That's amazing. I have the technology. Let's team up." But because he wasn't first, he didn't care. He wanted to be famous, not to fly.
Wow. That really shows the difference between intrinsic motivation, love, and extrinsic motivation, fame.
Precisely. And this leads us to the second big concept of this book, the law of diffusion of innovation.
Oh, the bell curve graph. I've seen this in marketing class.
It explains how ideas spread. Look at the far left, the first 2.5% of the population. These are the innovators.
These are the tech nerds, right? The people who buy stuff just because it's new?
Yes. Next, we have the early adopters, 13.5%. These people don't buy because it's new, they buy because they share your belief. They buy your why.
Like the people who bought Tesla when it was just a risky startup?
Exactly. The cars were expensive and had bugs, but early adopters didn't care. They believed in the green energy revolution. Then come the early majority and late majority. These people are practical. They won't try something until someone else has tried it first.
And the last group? The laggards. The people who only buy touchscreen phones because they can't buy rotary phones anymore.
Right. Now, here is the secret to business. You cannot reach the majority until you win the early adopters. There is a gap called the tipping point.
The tipping point. That's when a trend becomes a virus, right?
Yes, mass market success happens automatically after you penetrate 15 to 18% of the market. But you can't force the majority to buy. You have to inspire the early adopters first.
So don't try to sell to everyone. Sell to the people who believe what you believe.
Exactly. The Wright brothers didn't need the whole world. They just needed a few crazy people who believed in flight to help them. Langley wanted everyone to love him, so he got no one.
That is such a strategic lesson. Stop chasing the masses. Okay, let's recap the business vocabulary from this section. First word, proceeds.
Proceeds refers to money obtained from an event or activity. The Wright brothers used the proceeds from their bike shop.
Second, diffusion. The spreading of something more widely. The diffusion of innovation.
Third, laggard. A person who makes slow progress and falls behind others. The last people to adopt new technology.
And finally, tipping point. The critical point in a situation beyond which a significant and often unstoppable effect or change takes place.
So we have the why, biology, and the who, early adopters. But Sarah, how do we make sure our why stays clear as we grow?
That is the hardest part. Success can actually destroy your why. We will talk about the celery test in the final part.
Welcome to the finale. We have the golden circle. We have the biology. Now, we need a filter to make decisions. Simon Sinek calls this the celery test.
Okay, I have to ask, what does a vegetable have to do with business leadership?
Imagine you are at a dinner party. People give you advice. Someone says, you need Oreos to be successful. Another says, you need rice milk. Another says, you need celery.
So I go to the supermarket and buy all of them?
Most people do. They buy everything because they are afraid of missing out. But then, you stand in line at the checkout with Oreos, celery, and rice milk. Everyone looking at your cart is confused. They don't know who you are. Are you healthy? Are you a junk food eater? You are confusing.
I see. Because I listen to everyone, I have no identity.
Exactly. But imagine if your why is to live a healthy life. Now you go to the supermarket.
I buy the celery and the rice milk. I ignore the Oreos.
Yes, and when you stand in line, people look at your cart and say, She is a healthy person. Your what, the products, proves your why, your belief. That is called authenticity.
Authenticity. We hear that word a lot. Be authentic. But Sinek gives it a definition. It means your actions match your beliefs.
Correct. If you say you care about the environment, but you drive a gas-guzzling truck, you fail the celery test. You are inauthentic. This brings us to the final metaphor, the megaphone. Imagine the golden circle is actually a 3D cone.
A cone? Like a megaphone?
Yes, the why is the small part where you speak. The how is the structure. And the what is the loud sound that comes out. The problem is, as companies grow, the why, the founder, gets separated from the what, the employees. Sinek calls this the split.
This happens to so many companies. When the founder dies or leaves, the company becomes just another corporate machine.
Look at Walmart. Sam Walton inspired people to serve the community. But after he died, the why became fuzzy. It became just about cheap prices. They lost the love.
Fuzzy. That's a good word. Not clear. Blurred.
Yes, to survive long-term, you must keep your why clear. You must pass the celery test every single day.
It's a powerful lesson. Don't buy the Oreos if you believe in health. Let's do our final vocabulary review for this episode. First word, authenticity.
Authenticity is the quality of being real or true. In Sinek's view, it's when what you say and what you do are in alignment.
Second, inconsistent, not staying the same throughout. If you buy Oreos one day and celery the next, you are inconsistent.
And third, fuzzy, difficult to perceive clearly or understand. When a company forgets its purpose, their message becomes fuzzy.
Alex, this book really makes me question my own career. Do I have a why, or am I just working for a what?
That is the most important question you can ask. Remember, you don't invent your why. You discover it. It's usually from your past, your childhood. Go find it.
Thank you for listening to PodQuiver. If this episode inspired you, please share it with someone who needs to find their purpose.
And let us know in the comments, what is the why that drives you? We read every comment.
See you next time.
See you next time.